Good day everyone, I am Shansan de Lariba of Optic M11 and I will be continuing Miss Dagaang's report, so fasten your seatbelts as we dive deeper into the topic. Moving on to the next stage, we have stage 4, called the school age stage, where children ages from 6 to 12 are tasked with developing a capacity for industry. This is also the phase where they tame their imaginations and focus more on education and learning the skills their society requires of them. Not only the parents, but also the teachers are required to encourage and care for the children, and showing them the satisfaction of taking actions on their own plans. But if you get too harsh and deprive the child of success, this will affect the child's performance and let him or her develop inferiority or incompetence. Furthermore, too much industry leads to the maladaptivity called narrow virtuosity, which we can observe in children who are not allowed to be children. For example, child actresses, child models, child athletes, child musicians, child prodigies, and such. They are only focused on one field and are not allowed to grow and learn other things. If we look closely, this is how a lifeless life starts. In terms of malignancy, we have inertia, and this includes all of us who have an inferiority come because of this. Others never develop social skills, which are the most important of all, thus making them inert. If virtue develops a right balance of industry and inferiority, it will lead to the virtue called competency, which is the ability to do something successfully and efficiently. Furthermore, stage 5 is where puberty or adolescence occurs from ages 18 to 20. During this phase, their task is to achieve ego identity and avoid role confusion. It was the adolescent stage that fascinated Erikson, for this is where he got the pattern he used in forming the other stages. So much for that, let us start with what is ego identity. Knowing your ego identity means knowing where you fit in the society and whether the society will find you meaningful. Furthermore, society is advised to provide clear rites of passage, certain accomplishments, and rituals to help distinguish an adult from a child. When a person has too much ego identity, this may lead to the maladaptive tendency called fanaticism, where a fanatic will only believe that his or her way is the only way without thinking about what other people's opinions are. And as for those who lack identity, they tend to develop the malignant tendency called repudiation. A person who repudiates is someone who rejects identity and would rather do bad things and stay as a nobody than be someone in the society. One successful negotiation of this stage, you shall have the virtue that Erikson called fidelity. Fidelity means loyalty and the ability to live up to society's standards despite their imperfections, incompleteness, and inconsistencies. The next stage is where young adulthood occurs, ages 18 to about 30. The task for this stage is to achieve a degree of intimacy, find a lover, and avoid living in solitude. Intimacy does not only apply to lovers but also to friends. Having a clear vision of who you truly are will now remove the fear of losing yourself. Fearing commitment is seen as immaturity at this stage. As young adults, it is now time for you to enter a young adult relationship where it is a matter of two independent egos wanting to create something more than themselves. Too much intimacy may lead to the maladaptive tendency that Erikson called promiscuity, in which being intimate too freely around neighbors, friends, and other members of society. The malignancy he proposed is called exclusion, which refers to the tendency to live in solitude and deny oneself love, friendship, and community which will later on develop loneliness and hatred. Upon achieving balance within this stage, you would be rewarded with the psychosocial strength Erikson calls love. Love is being able to set aside differences and antagonism through mutuality and devotion. It does not only apply to lovers, but also to friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Second to the last, we have the seventh stage, namely young adulthood, with age ranges from mid-20s to late 50s, the time where it includes active raising of children. The task here is to cultivate the proper balance between generativity and stagnation. So what is generativity? Generativity is an extension of love into the future, including future generations. With generativity, parents do not expect anything in return from their children. Well, not as much as other parents who expect to get return for their investment, which make us think that they're not good parents. The maladaptive tendency called overextension is what Erikson refers when the person is focusing too much on generativity to the point that they would not have any more time for themselves, for relaxation, or for rest. I'm sure some of us know people who overexert themselves by joining too many clubs or taking care of too many things that they would not have time for themselves. And of course, if there is too much generativity, there is also too much stagnation, which leads to the malignant tendency called rejection. This is where the middle life crisis occurs. They became so focused on themselves that they lost meaning in doing things for others. Where you get successful in this stage, you will have the capacity for caring that will serve you for the rest of your life. And for the last stage, the stage is called late adulthood or maturity. Some old people may deny the fact that they are already old, stating that as long as you don't feel old, you are not old. This is just an effect of our youth-worshipping culture. In Erikson's theory, reaching this stage means that you have developed accordingly, given that the task to be done at this stage is to build ego integrity without feeling too much despair. Ego integrity means that you come to terms with your life and thereby come to terms with the end of it. Looking back at those memories and decisions you have made, accepting them and learning from them are what have made you the person you are today. The maladaptive tendency in stage 8 is called presumption. Presumption happens when a person presumes ego integrity without actually facing the difficulties of old age. It also occurs when a person of old age believes that he or she is the only one who is right and does not respect the opinions of the young. The malignant tendency called disdain happens when a person becomes very negative and starts hating life. Wisdom is bestowed on someone who does not fear approaching death. The person with ego integrity is the one truly gifted, and healthy children will not fear life if their elders have ego integrity enough to not fear death. And that covers up our report. Thank you for listening.